Today on Animal Outtakes,
I've seen everything from the tiniest hatchlings to the adolescents right around here to the very old resident large tortoises.
from tortoises to otters and everything in between. We're learning all about Florida's first residents.
But look at how adorable they are. They couldn't be any cuter.
They are.
Hello, friends, and thanks for joining us today on Animal Outtakes. I'm your host, Marcia Panucci. We're here in Florida, and while our state is known for sandy beaches and palm trees, we're much more than that. Join us today as we learn about some animals that are uniquely Florida and why some of them need our help. One of Sarasota County's best-kept secrets is about a 10-minute drive east of the interstate in Venice. What are we seeing here at the Carlton Reserve?
Well, at the Carlton, we've got 24,565 acres of protected land that Sarasota County purchased in the early 1980s for water resources, for passive recreation, and to conserve land.
But while the park is popular with hikers and bikers, there's another visitor that has people talking.
The bear in November.
Sherm Stratton is a volunteer with the Friends of the Carlton Reserve, and in November of 2015, they captured the first photo of a black bear on the Carlton Reserve.
And I talked with one of the person who had the hunt lease on the Carlton for some 30 years prior to public ownership. But he says he never heard of, in his lifetime, bears. I never heard of them, and I've been here, my family, since 1947. So to have November 11th, a really healthy bear going in front of one of our cameras, unfortunately we didn't record the sound, but we had a bicyclist also who saw tracks and then heard the bear. You know, we think he was just mad because there are no females here.
The camera program started with a gift from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. But the equipment was bulky and required film and money to develop the pictures.
So the Friends of the Carlton, the community support organization, decided to buy more modern equipment that was digital in nature. And so we started out with a camera, and then 2, and then 3. And we are now up to 10 or 11 cameras that we have deployed in the wilderness.
Volunteers trek out to collect memory cards and sort through thousands of digital images, hoping for a gem like that big black bear. This wasn't the first time they were surprised by what developed.
This is the rare one. This is the first panther that we confirmed in the history of the Carlton and the history of Sarasota County. Was out here somewhere, we think, between 1999 for the next few years or so.
Okay. It's been over a decade since that panther was spotted at the Carlton. But volunteers like Sherm are still collecting the photos and keeping records for the future.
We have an elaborate database that we hope somebody will use someday to do analysis like what's happening to the turkey population, the coyote population, the deer population, or whatever it is.
Another native Florida animal, the Florida scrub jay, is a little easier to spot if you know where to look.
Well, the Florida scrub jay is one of our rarest birds. It is the only endemic bird in the state, and that means it occurs nowhere else. It doesn't extend over into Alabama or Georgia, just in our state.
Brooke Elias is a park naturalist at Shamrock Park in Venice, Florida, home to a couple of pairs of Florida scrub jays. The scrub jay gets its name from where it lives, in the dry oak scrub communities throughout the state.
But they're very fascinating creatures because they have communal family dynamics. So a pair will mate for life, and when they have young, those young will typically stay with the parents for at least 1 year. They will be helpers.
The juveniles will spend their days acting as sentries or lookouts for predators like snakes and hawks. They may also help gather food like grubs or spiders for the next batch of fledglings or hatchlings to eat. These helpers stick around for about 1 year, and then they will eventually strike out on their own to find a mate and their own territory. Cooperative flocks consisting of a breeding pair and up to 6 helpers have been shown to raise more young than pairs with no helpers. Despite conservation efforts, the scrub jay is in trouble. Their habitat is being destroyed. You see, that dry, sandy area is not just a great place for these birds to live. People like to live there too. Development has fragmented their habitat and made it difficult for the birds to travel long distances and meet new birds for breeding purposes. Animal Outtakes has followed the scrub jays because it's a subject which is near and dear to our hearts. But we've also heard the caution that the breeding is not really kind of holding. What do you see here at the park?
We've had 2 nesting pairs or families in 2015, and we're hoping we have 1 or 2 nests again this year. We want to continue stressing our land management and anything else that will allow them to survive predation from Cooper's hawks or snakes and get our numbers back up.
So concisely, when we talk about land management, how do we help these guys?
We help them by making sure the area is cleared and open as optimal habitat for them.
So we do a controlled burn, perhaps?
Yes, we might need to get that fuel load or the vegetation reduced before we can safely do a prescribed burn.
Controlled or prescribed burning is a land management technique where fire is used for forest management and restoration. While we tend to see fire as a bad thing, it can actually help stimulate the environment. For the Florida scrub jays, prescribed burns and general clearing helps keep their habitat open so that they can see predators.
And of course, we do that in coordination with emergency management services and special fire mitigation specialists. Everything has to be exactly right. The wind must be from a certain direction, the humidity, and we have a large, experienced burn crew that works that.
For Brooke, helping the scrub jays means keeping an eye out for these fascinating birds.
We participate in an annual statewide census called J-Watch, and that will be coming up between June 15th and July 15th. We'll have specially trained volunteers going out and we'll play calls, and we will document all of the individuals we find here at the park. Any new individual adult will have plastic bands put on their legs. We have lots and lots of data on all Florida scrub jay individuals, both in the central part of the state and here, because they are so rare and we need to monitor them so closely.
Still ahead on Animal Outtakes,
So in their minds, they're in the wild.
we meet some charming native Floridians who are making quite a splash. But first, we head back to Shamrock Park to learn all about another native species, the gopher tortoise, and why this reptile is so important.
For thousands of years, we've been humans' best friend. You've been through a lot, and we've been right there with you. A dog is part of the family, a confidant, and a friend who always knows how to get into your heart. So what happens to our beloved companions when we can no longer care for them? This is why we've created Dante's Den, an innovative, state-of-the-art facility that will provide care for up to 100 dogs.
Dante's Den is a community for joyful dogs.
Millions of Americans face uncertainty when planning for the future of beloved pets who may well outlive them. Dante's Den is a charitable organization, so in whatever capacity you can, please lend your support so that we may continue this most wonderful work.
Dante and I would like to thank you for watching and for also opening up your hearts to our wonderful community of joyful dogs.
Learn about the many ways you could become involved by visiting dantesden.org.
For me, it started with one hit of sardines. Oh, sardines. That's where I learned to beg. It was easy to score free fish. I mean, hey, with this dolphin smile, yeah, it's illegal, but no one cares. I had a monkey on my back, man. I was jonesing for people food, hanging out under boats, dodging props and hooks, and doing dangerous stuff that I'm ashamed to admit. Look, I know that I can kick this if people would just stop feeding me.
Hi, I'm Marcia Panucci, founder of the Dante's Den Foundation.
And I'm Ron Dixon, the executive director out at the Dens. Dante's Den has come a long way since its inception to where we are now.
We've helped hundreds of dogs since we've opened, but now we need your help.
We sure do, Marcia. Dante's Den needs great volunteers to help us feed, walk, and play with all of our furry friends.
So come on out and enjoy our 50 acres of beautiful countryside where you can also feed miniature Holstein cows.
And their babies.
And Hee-Haw.
The donkey.
And Buttercup.
A beautiful miniature horse.
If you would like to be a part of our joyful community of dogs, please visit dantesden.org.
Or call us toll-free at 844-DANTES-DEN. That's 844-366-8336.
Come on out today and see what makes us so special. Today we're learning about native Florida animals, and we're at Shamrock Park in Venice, Florida to get the lowdown on a tortoise that gets, well, down low. And this is a gopher tortoise, indigenous to this area.
Yes, this is a native species of reptile throughout Florida and the southeast.
The gopher tortoise is a terrestrial species of turtle, known for digging extensive tunnels.
They will dig a burrow that can extend up to 8 feet deep and 10 or even more feet in length, 20 feet, and have multiple chambers.
Those burrows are important not just for the gopher tortoises, but for other wildlife as well.
And other animals and wildlife in the area like it because they can duck in there if there's a wildfire or something and use the gopher tortoise's burrow for shelter.
Hundreds of different species of wildlife, from amphibians to birds to reptiles, will seek refuge in the gopher tortoise's burrow. For that reason, gopher tortoises are known as a keystone species. Scientists believe that without these tortoises, we would see a population decrease in more than 350 species. What do they eat?
They are vegetarian. They eat a wide variety of native grasses and shrubs and small, low-growing plants, but they're very content to make most of their diet just grasses, almost like cattle grazing in a pasture.
How about water? Do they need a lot of water to drink?
No, they don't, but they can get most of the moisture they need from their vegetation they eat. And they have adaptations for digging. You can see that their front legs are very powerful and actually bigger than their hind legs, and they have these strong claws.
How big do they get?
They can, their shell can get to be about 15, 16 inches in length and quite high domed, like 6 or 7 inches for the largest specimens. And they can live quite long. Like
how long?
Over 60 years, perhaps over 75. So some of the oldest ones in captivity.
So this is pretty tough, right?
Yes, they're well adapted and have probably been in Florida for eons in our scrubby habitats.
Like the Florida scrub jays, the gopher tortoise prefers the oak scrub habitat. Not only is it sandy and easy to dig in, but the grasses and other plants are not too dense for the tortoises to navigate.
So you can see that the bushes and scrub oaks over there are lower, and there's only a few taller pine and palm trees, and that's what we're aiming for scrub habitat restoration. Shamrock Park is a real haven for them because we have remnant scrub habitat, but we've also been the repository for sand and dredge and fill when the Intracoastal Waterway was installed and dug in the 1960s. So they love having all these mounds and extra layers of sand for them to dig their very extensive burrows into. We are near the entrance of Shamrock Park behind the tennis courts, and this is built as a detention area for rainwater, but it turns out to be a very nice grassy meadow for the gopher tortoises. So we often find them here just grazing because grass is one of their favorite foods.
When it comes to predators, the gopher tortoise is most vulnerable when it is young.
Sort of, large golf ball sized eggs, and the hatchlings are only about 2 to 3 inches in diameter. And it's those first few years that they could be prey to a host of animals, birds, lizards, snakes, foxes. So they have to hope to make it through there. But we know that we have a large breeding population here because I see gopher tortoises of all age ranges in the park.
Once full grown, the tortoise's shell serves as its main defense mechanism. If attacked, it can pull its head and limbs in there for protection. But there's one thing that shell is no match for.
They can fall prey and be killed by our vehicles.
That's why at Shamrock Park, you'll see signs like this throughout the park.
We felt it was important to put signs out to remind people that gopher tortoises may be moving across a parking lot or one of our drives and roads, and to be careful because we don't want to lose any just through someone being careless. Both the tortoises themselves and their burrows are protected. You should, if you see a burrow, you should not walk up close to it because it's obviously excavated underneath and your foot could go through or you could cause disruption for the tortoise.
Coming up on Animal Outtakes,
Right beyond us, we have Jane and Pippi.
Jane.
And these are river otters.
Yes, they're actually North American river otters.
otters in Florida? You heard right. Why it's a good thing to see one here. But first,
So, not being native, where did these guys come from?
an exotic lizard is invading Florida. What you need to know about the black spiny-tailed iguana next. Hi, I'm Marcia Panucci, founder of the Dante's Den Foundation.
And I'm Ron Dixon, the executive director out at the Dens. Dante's Den has come a long way since its inception to where we are now.
We've helped hundreds of dogs since we've opened, but now we need your help.
We sure do, Marcia. Dante's Den needs great volunteers to help us feed, walk, and play with all of our furry friends.
So come on out and enjoy our 50 acres of beautiful countryside where you can also feed miniature Holstein cows.
And their babies,
And Hee-Haw.
the donkey,
And Buttercup.
a beautiful miniature horse.
If you would like to be a part of our joyful community of dogs, please visit dantesden.org.
Or call us toll free at 844 Dante's Den. That's 844-366-8336.
Come on out today and see what makes us so special.
On your TV, on your computer, on your camera, on your smartphone, on your Apple Watch. And now you can get ABC7, your Suncoast News on Fire TV. Just go to mysuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab for a list of fast and free downloads that deliver ABC7, your Suncoast News on the go.
Attention breast cancer survivors. If you experience permanent hair loss or baldness after chemotherapy, you may qualify for a cash award. Thousands of women suffering breast cancer were given a chemotherapy drug without being warned about the possibility of irreversible alopecia. If you or a loved one suffered permanent hair loss after chemotherapy, call 888-622-8732. Time to file a claim is limited. 888-622-8732. That's 888-622-8732.
People ask me all the time, George, what do I do with my idea for a new product? I tell them, call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been providing patent referrals, preparing ideas, and submitting to companies for more than 30 years.
I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For your free inventor's information, call 1-800-881-6805.
We've been studying Florida's famous wildlife, from the elusive panther and black bear to the friendly scrub jays and nonchalant gopher tortoise. But there is one species that's getting more and more common in Florida, and it's not even from here.
Brooke, I'm holding a black spiny-tailed iguana.
Yes.
Correct? Now, is this full grown or?
This is almost full grown, but the males can get much larger as they get older, yeah.
The black spiny-tailed iguana. It's originally from Mexico and Central America, but they are popular as pets. Like other invasive reptiles, it's believed these iguanas are descendants from liberated pets.
Lots of the invasive reptiles we're encountering now, like the pythons in the Everglades, have been released by irresponsible pet owners who either no longer can care for them, or they're moving, or they don't want to buy food, and they'll say, well, it'll live here. And that is a very bad thing to do.
It sure is.
The problem with invasive animals is they compete with native animals for food and habitat.
This species is omnivorous, so they impact a little bit of everything. They'll eat the caterpillars, they'll eat the butterflies. If it's a butterfly garden, I've seen them running by with baby snakes in their mouth, and I know that that's one of our native species. They can climb trees, which means that they can get up to and eat the eggs and hatchlings of our birds, including the Florida scrub jay.
Right.
Brooke stresses the importance of being a responsible pet owner.
You can buy iguanas at a pet store, and I do understand that they are a fun pet, but just to be responsible. They do not belong out in Florida in natural areas where they could kill other animals that live here as natives.
To catch a glimpse of our last featured Florida fauna, we headed to Outt Aquarium in Sarasota, Florida. That's where we met Jane, Pippi, and Huck, and their trainer, Amanda Foltz.
Well, we're here with my two best friends, Amanda and Ollie. Yeah, and he's just so cuddly and wonderful. And right beyond us, we have Jane and Pippi. And these are river otters.
Yes, they're actually North American river otters.
These otters are native to Florida, but can also be found throughout the United States. They're very adaptable animals, able to live in freshwater systems, estuaries, and coastal regions. These three otters were all orphaned and hand-raised, so they cannot be released back into the wild. So now they're educational ambassadors, teaching visitors about watersheds, which are areas of land that drain towards fresh bodies of water.
So otters are considered an indicator species, and that means if you're seeing an otter, it's a very good sign that the ecosystem is healthy. There's clean water and there's a lot of resources or food for them to eat.
While North American river otters spend time on both land and in the water, they have several adaptations to make life easier for them when they're swimming.
So their guard hairs, or the hairs on the surface of their coat, are actually laying down and trapping air in between the skin and their fur, so it keeps them dry. They have webbed paws, so that helps with their swimming. If you notice, they actually do a doggy paddle. They have long bodies and a flat tapered tail. Their tail on land helps them to balance, but it helps them to steer when they're in the water. And you know, when you're diving down just like a swimmer, you might have goggles or you might have nose plugs. They're able to close their nose and their ears when they dive down to keep that water out. And they don't need goggles because they're adapted to kind of see underwater.
How long can they stay underwater?
Well, I think the longest recorded time was 8 minutes, but on average it's just a few minutes. It depends on what they're doing. If they have to travel down deep, swimming down deep to catch prey, they might be able to hold their breath a little bit longer.
Now, Amanda, they are having a wonderful time.
Right.
But what is their typical day? Do they actually kind of have to work a little bit for you?
Yeah, so otters in the wild are going to be challenged to survive, and our way of keeping them stimulated and active, we do train our animals here. So being able to train them really allows us to provide for them. They're just their basic care. So we can train them to cooperate in body presentations. We can train them to open their mouths so we can look at their teeth, present their feet so we can make sure their feet are in good condition. They're trained to go into a crate so we can weigh them. We weigh them every single week. But we train a variety of other things just to challenge them and keep them stimulated.
It was a labor of love putting together this habitat for the otters. But the aquarium's assistant vice president, Evan Barniskis, says it's well worth it.
We put everything into this exhibit. We really wanted to make it as naturalistic as possible. So the entire exhibit's based on Florida ecosystems. We have all Florida-friendly, Florida-native plants throughout the inside of the exhibit and the outside of the exhibit.
So in their minds, they're in the wild, even though that they don't realize that they're at the Ritz, at Outt, right?
That's right, that's right. The environment it mimics their natural environment perfectly, and our trainers are amazing to help with enrichment. They go in every day and change the exhibit up. So when the animals come out in the morning, things are in different places, so they get to explore basically almost a new environment every day.
Well, Evan, you can't help but watch them have fun. They are just not only curious, but they're comical.
They're absolutely
Very comical.
They're so playful, constantly roaming throughout the entire exhibit and interacting with each other. But what's even greater is when they interact with our guests. Just the other day, I saw a kid running back and forth at the window, and the otters were following them. So it's just spectacular to see our guests enjoying the exhibit and the animals enjoying the exhibit as well.
We'll be right back.
You can watch full episodes of Animal Outtakes by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Just visit youtube.com/animalouttakes.
A message from the Pulaski Law Firm. You started there right out of high school, learned your trade and did it well. And the asbestos you handled, well, that was just part of the job. If you worked in the trades and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, get the best care available, then call us. You may be entitled to financial compensation without ever going to court.
Call 800-236-4994
and see how we can help. Mesothelioma, don't fight it alone.
Are you one of the many Americans who undergo CPAP or BiPAP therapy? How often are you replacing your masks and hoses? Replacing your CPAP or BiPAP supplies every 3 to 6 months is critical to an effective therapy. Bacteria will build up, making you sick, and worn-out straps cause leaks and are just plain uncomfortable. Let Allied Medical Supply Network help. Call Allied Medical to speak to an expert agent that will determine which supplies you need and will set up a schedule for your fresh, brand-name supplies to be delivered right to your door, right when you need them. Shipping's absolutely free, and you may qualify to receive supplies at little or no cost to you. That's right, there's no driving around town or remembering when to order. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today and rest easy.
Call 800-601-0658. That's 800-601-0658.
Attention blood clot filter patients. Surgically implanted blood clot filters are potentially life-threatening. Some filters are prone to breaking, resulting in pieces of the filter moving through the body and causing internal bleeding. If you had surgery to implant a blood clot filter, you may be entitled to a cash award, even if you haven't suffered side effects yet. Call the Gold Shield Group now, 888-747-5291, to see if you qualify for a cash award, 888-747-5291.
Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org.
Well, Marcia, from panther sightings to coming face-to-face with otters, this has been an eye-opening experience.
It sure has, and I hope all of you have enjoyed learning about these amazing Florida animals. Join us again next week for another outstanding animal adventure.
I'll see you then. Well, Marcia, from panther sightings to whatever that says.
It's all good.
We are blind, sorry. Well, Marcia, from panther sightings.
Marcia!
Oh my God.
It's time again for My Suncoast's Bark in the Park with the Bradenton Marauders at McKechnie Field. Bring your best friend and let them run the bases in support of the Humane Society of Manatee County today at 1 p.m. Visit BradentonMarauders.com for info. Sponsored by ABC7. ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Hi, I'm George Foreman. People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can provide patent referrals and submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For your free inventor's information, call 1-800-890-1946. That's 1-800-890-1946.
Download ABC7's free all-new news app at your app store today.